Death and taxes. We're told these are the only two things that are guaranteed in life. And while I can't help you live forever, in this video, I'm gonna show you how to save thousands of dollars on your Florida real estate tax bill. So if you own real estate in the state of Florida, if you have not already received your trim notice, which is a truth in millage, you likely will soon. And this notice is not quite, it's sort of like getting a bill in the mail. It is getting a bill in the mail essentially. Even though it's not your tax bill, it's a notice of saying what your real estate taxes will likely be. And I've got a great story where I'm gonna share with you how I actually saved thousands of dollars. Now, this particular notice of proposed 2022 real estate property taxes, this is for an investment property that I own. And so in here, I want you to understand what it is, and then we'll talk about what you might be able to do about it. So on the back of the first page, you get to meet the property appraiser. His name's Matthew Caldwell, and it gives you some information in here, talks about possible exemptions, etc. On the next page at the very top, it's gonna give you what the last year's value was and this year's market value. And for this particular property, it says the last year's value was about $277,000. This year's market value is $361,000. So, you know, up substantially $84,000, something like that. And so that is good for, you know, potential value, but that's actually bad from a real estate tax perspective, because as the property becomes more valuable, obviously the taxes go up from there. Now, as we go down, it's going to tell you last year what the taxable value is. That's really where you want to look, because the taxable value is much more important than what they are saying market value is. And so the taxable value on this particular property is $225 last year. This year it's $248. So how is that so much different than what's at the top? And that's really where the story comes in. So I purchased this property approximately 3 years ago, and we got a very good deal on it in that it was a distressed property. It was a wholesaler who offered it up, couldn't do any inspections, and we got a really good deal on that property. Well, when our tax bill came out the very following year, what the market value was of the property was significantly higher than what we paid for the property at that time. Now, the way that it works is that the property appraiser is looking at whatever the value is as of January 1st of the current year. That's the value that they're going to put as the market value on your trim notice. Now, here's the thing about that is that we pay our taxes in arrears, so it's January 1st of this year. And if the property transacts throughout the course of the year, it's still whatever the value and everything was before it transacted. The following year is when you could see a potential increase in the tax amount. So I'm talking about the following year after we had purchased that property. Again, it was much higher. Their market value is much higher than what we paid for that particular property. And so this is the tip. This is where you can actually potentially save thousands of dollars. We contacted the property appraiser's office and had a consultation with them. Now, if you don't agree with the market value that they're putting on the property, that's where you need to take action. And they actually say it. They actually outline it right on the document. That this is, you know, it's on the bottom of the page right underneath the address. And it says that if you don't agree, that you have 3 options. One option would be to request an informal conference with our office. I chose that option. Another is to file a petition with the Value Adjustment Board at the county level. And then the third option is to file a lawsuit in the circuit court. Now, my recommendation is that you start with that informal conference. And so with that informal conference, it was a pleasant conversation. I said, actually, you know, we purchased this property last year. We were actually able to buy it for this amount. And so, you know, we believe that it should have a lower value than that. And it was below the comparable. So they're looking, much like we do as a real estate agent, at what the comparable sales are in the area. But we actually got them to make a pretty sizable adjustment. So with that, there's some major benefits, and that process took a few weeks for them to review everything, but they made an adjustment that was quite sizable. And the more important thing is that protected us from these increases in value over time, because wherever we started with our initial value, this is an investment property, we're then capped at a maximum of 10% over whatever the assessed value was from the year prior to, or the taxable value, to the next year, they can only go up by a maximum of 10%. Now, if your property is homesteaded and it's your primary residence, that's capped at 3%. So there tends to be, over time, if you have this protection in there, a really big gap versus market value versus what their taxable value is. And so in my instance here, there's an assessment limitation on the benefit. It's showing me that that's $113,178 that they're actually not even taxing me on, because we have that protection that's built in, and it's all because of going after saying that the value of it wasn't quite what it was, because we paid a lot less for that. So that is a huge way to save money on your property taxes that has long-term benefits. The other more obvious and easier one is to make sure, like, I want you to review your tax bill and make sure that you are getting all of the exemptions that you qualify for. I already mentioned the homestead exemption, and that takes off up to $50,000 from the market value to get us the assessed value. And so that's a really big deal to save money if it's your primary residence, but they also have them for seniors, they have them for veterans, they have them for people who are handicapped. There's a lot of different exemptions that are out there. So make sure that if you qualify for any of these exemptions, that you actually have them on this trim notice. If you don't have them, that means that the property appraiser doesn't know about them. You're not going to get that, and so that's something to keep aware of. Now, the other thing that I want to mention in terms of this trim notice is, if we look at one of the other pages, it's going to give us the millage. And down here, it's going to give us what your proposed taxes are if there's no budget change, and what your proposed taxes are if there is a budget change. And a lot of times the budget change does go through. That's voted on by the county commissioners. And so just keep a look at those columns and understand what would happen to the value. But I also want you to know that that doesn't mean that that's your full tax amount. The only thing that's on this trim notice is the ad valorem taxes, which that means adding value. So what the millage rate based on the value, what the overall tax is based on that. Now in Florida, most of the time your solid waste is part of the non-ad valorem, which would be not added value of taxes. So your trash collection is paid for on your taxes. Usually it's a couple $100s per year. But if you live in a neighborhood that has a CDD, or community development district, or any other assessments from the city or county, that doesn't show up on your trim notice. The non-ad valorem items would be in addition to whatever the ad valorem tax is here. So this is not your tax bill, but this is a good indicator of what it will be. Now, you don't have much time, so take a look at this when you get this, and make sure that if you don't agree with the value at the top, that you are reaching out to the property appraiser and getting those things corrected, because like me, it could save you thousands of dollars on your tax bill. So if you find this valuable content, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps YouTube. Give the video some love. I hope you have an amazing day, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.